Good morning. This is Kat with Taming the Tangle, and I wanted to talk a little bit about seasonal energetics. We're in the season of summer right now, and it's the year 2020, so nothing is quite as it usually is, let's be honest. And typically in summer, most people are doing things like taking a vacation, going to the beach, or taking the kids to Disneyland or something like that. There's time when you get hot in the afternoon, you can just go to the river or the lake. You can go out and get ice cream and walk down the street eating it. You can have dinner outside on a beautiful patio or go to your favorite restaurant so you're not heating up the house with cooking. There's just so many different ways. You will go to a giant festival and see some of your favorite music and dance around with all of your friends, and go to the county fair and walk around and see everyone and hug them, and just kind of have these leisurely things that fill the time and recharge your soul for the darker months ahead. And we're not able to do that stuff. There's a few workarounds, that you can get an iced coffee to go, or, carry ice cream, but then you got to wear a mask so it's hard to eat it, or, we're all modifying and struggling a bit. So whether or not you generally struggle with summer, which I raise my hand, summer is a challenging season for me in general. But even if you love summer, like all of my California friends who love summer and they're sun worshipers, they're struggling right now because it's harder to just go to the river when a bunch of other people might be there. How do you practice social distancing? What feels comfortable? There's just a lot of different inner turmoil and challenges right now. And the thing to keep in mind is that summer is generally a rest season. And what I mean by that is spring and fall are very active seasons. You can use the gardening sort of analogy, where in spring is when planting lots of seeds, there's lots of work to be done preparing garden beds, and we sort of have the same energy in our lives. It mirrors that a lot of, even whether or not you have kids, but it's like that going back to school energy and being in it and just that busy, busy, busy time. And then there's summer, which is like a little hammock season to fall. And it's not saying nothing happens during the summer, but once again, with the garden analogy, this is sort of the growing season. It's like you've done all the things that you can do, with a few exceptions. You water the plants to help keep them hydrated, you fertilize them, and then you pick weeds. And side note, good analogy for us of what we can be doing for ourselves in summer, So how do we keep ourselves watered on a daily basis so that we don't feel burnt out by the sun? We can fertilize ourselves by taking in information or whatever just jazzes you up and kind of nourishes your roots. And then you can pull weeds, anything that just isn't serving you, because it can be a really taxing time where other little things can be happening around you that are pulling off of your energy. And we really want to be nourishing our roots during the summertime. So that's kind of the season of summer. And then you get to fall, which is the big harvest, So in summer, a few things, you're gathering some of the stuff, you're able to eat some of what you sowed in the springtime. And then fall is when you do the big putting up, the canning of things. Now, this is all metaphorical. I mean, some of you out there are gardeners and are doing some of these things literally, but we want to translate that to ourselves. So to kind of understand, like, right, we should be in this restful type of place so that we have energy stored up when we're heading into fall, because fall is a busier season. And when we look at our lives, I still, even in my late 40s, correlate that time to like going back to school and learning and, having different endeavors, like getting a lot of things going. I love the energy of fall. And then winter is once again another rest season. So there's a nice pattern to it. But in 2020, very different challenging times right now. It's hard to rest right now. It's hard to figure out how to recharge when we can't follow our typical patterns and do the things that we usually do. And that is what I am tackling in my upcoming series. It's called Recalibrate Summer Recharge. It's a 6-week series that I am leading, small circle, just 6 people in the circle, to tune back into how we can align with resting and recharging. Because right now, even if you're doing fairly well, because I have those days where I'm doing fairly well, where I feel okay with everything, but I'll hit these walls periodically where I'm just like, okay, I'm more tapped out than I realized. Or I'll start off the day feeling good, and then by the end of the day, I'm drained and going, right, where are those reserves that I'm going to need for fall and winter months? And essentially it says reserves of light. Like, what can I call on? What are my habits and practices? Anything that feels supportive in my foundation, so that when I'm in these, what's typically thought of as the more challenging seasons because they're darker, what will I be calling on to get me through those? And I've seen a lot of people talking online, about their coping mechanisms. And I get it. I'm not criticizing anyone for their coping mechanisms, but is it sustainable? It's no big deal when you're at the beginning of a pandemic and you're going, okay, I'm having to use some of my coping mechanisms, but now they can turn into addictions or behavior that's more draining and not actually filling you up. So in this series, we're not going to be tackling like deep, hard things like addiction. So that's going to be up to you. I'm not going to be like throwing that in your face, but we will be doing some inner work, but also be doing some outer work, like connecting with the energy of this season. Because I think what's happened in this pandemic situation and with all of the racial injustice is suddenly everything got very inward, and we weren't connecting externally the way that we're used to, connecting with other people, connecting with the sun, connecting with our natural resources, and getting that type of recharge. So be coming up with some new ways to connect, and some of that will be through ritual. There will be some exploration of your inner world as well as your external world, and just holding some space for exploring of how you can recalibrate in this season. I think we've all come to realize there's no going back to how the world used to be. Like, we have evolved. We're coming through this intense initiation. We're going to be in that crucible for a while longer, and we don't know how long. So this class will also be about how do you hold that space in the mystery? How do you find some comfort in the unknown and learn some methods to relax and soothe and touch into your own deeper wisdom and tap into the wisdom of nature and sort of take those lessons in. The other things that are complicated about summer with the energetics is the sun itself is very masculine energy. It's just very direct. It doesn't mean it's male, but that's just a classification for it, this masculine energy. If it's like direct, it's out there, it doesn't manage itself. Like when we're too hot, we find shade, or we put on a hat or dress a certain way to adapt to the sun. And we can find ways to open up and receive the energy of the sun as much as serves us, and then that's it. But the sun isn't going to manage itself. It just shines. It's very direct and clear, and that's what it's about. But with summer being a rest season, the idea of just summer itself is very receptive. It is that sense of, it's a bit more feminine. How do you just receive and recharge, nourish and nurture yourself and your soul so that you are ready for those active seasons, like the active season of autumn that comes after it, and have your own fuel, your own light to carry you through in those times. So we'll be addressing in this 6-week class how to balance some of those energetics and let them mix within you, because we're never just one or the other. We're extremely multifaceted beings. So it's not even just masculine and feminine energetics blending. It's a mixture of all types of different things. So we'll be working with the elements, and then also some moon energetics, definitely connecting with the sun and kind of tuning into the present season, the summer season, the season of your life as well, how things are, and then preparing for transitioning to autumn, So this class series, this circle, this gathering because I don't like calling it just a class, because even though there will be some learning, we'll also be doing stuff together in circle, like cultivating connection with ourselves and with others. We'll have that potent energy of doing activities together, because it's so beautiful to do work with others doing work when you realize you're not just alone on an island, when you're all trying to evolve and integrate and recalibrate and kind of up level your experience and your evolution. There's an energetic to doing that, even doing it virtually, of just knowing like, okay, we're all here in this together. And it has, it kind of lightens the load to just go, right, I'm not in this alone. I have this, this supportive circle of people helping me hold this energy, and I'm helping them hold this energy, and somehow it lightens the load for all of us. So it's really beautiful. So even though there will be some learning, it'll actually be quite hands-on, and there will be lots of good questions so that you can do that inner exploration and get below the anxiety of these times of what's going on, navigating, if you have kids, are they going back to school, or navigating your own life changes and figuring out money and work and jobs and all of those types of things that are happening in the midst of a pandemic. And it's all different, it's all intense energetics that we're not used to. So we want to get below that and tap back into that deeper wisdom, the quieter, cooler waters that happen below the surface. And they are there, and they can just be hard to access. It can be hard to access in the time of summer, but it can be hard to access when every day there's aspects of anxiety. So there will be a lot of nurturing practices, and then invitations to practice ritual as well in between the in-person live Zoom meetings. There will be some time to do some ritual practices, whether it's self-care, doing something in nature, all types of different ideas, because there's lots of different ways to recalibrate not just yourself, but to also align with the seasons. And that's what we'll be bringing. This is based on a lot of work that I did as one of the owners of Cult of Gemini, and just through a lot of my own practices of struggling and fighting the seasons that I didn't like, of just going, wait, how can I surrender more to them and accept, instead of mentally telling myself I have to be more on in summer, which, isn't even accurate with it being a rest season. But since it's not my favorite season, I thought I need more energy, I need more this. And I was always trying to change how I actually felt and hit this override button. And we want to align with not only where you are, but just see, can you tune in and kind of find some grace and ease. And if summer is your favorite season, if you just love it, or if you find it very nourishing, we will also be addressing how to not have extreme anxiety about the coming seasons, but to see everything as this cycle and kind of go with the cycle and give yourself some compassion and realize that you don't have to be maybe making goals and having these external pressures in a season that's challenging for you. You can find a way to not just cope, but to kind of glide through it with a bit more ease. And you may not love it, and that's okay. We're trying to kind of say, okay, how can we be with what is and have more acceptance and much less judgment about what it is? So there's some messages for you about summer. You can see how it gets a little complicated working with energetics, but it's actually, when you relax into it, we can hold these paradoxes in our bodies. Like, we were put on this planet with all of these mixtures of energetics at this time, with all of these challenges. You do have this, you can thrive, you can shine during this time, even during a pandemic, even during racial upheaval, even during all of the challenges that are happening in your personal life right now. And we can help each other shine together. Please do check out my offering. It is called Recalibrate Summer Recharge 6-week series. It includes all kinds of other bonus goodies too that I haven't even mentioned because I don't want to take up more of your time. But you get a free 1-hour one-on-one coaching session. You get a box of magical goodies too, because inner work is really lovely to do with outer work, so you get some energetic reset stuff, some teas, some little magical things to just kind of have some other practices in your life and that are supportive for you. But I have lots of information in the link in my bio Click on that. Let me know if you have any questions, and happy summer. Talk to you soon.